So it's been 3 years since I officially quit my job, went full-time freelancing / on my business, and it's honestly been the absolute best decision I've made in my life, no questions asked. And this is partly inspired, I know I've talked about this before, but mainly inspired just because I'm seeing a ton of other creators talking about being fed up with their 9 to 5s, either quitting on the spot or thinking about quitting, trying to make, ends meet from other skills or side hustles that they have. And it's really damn exciting to see, man. Seriously, it just takes me back to that time in my life when I finally took the plunge a couple years ago. And I know I've talked about it before, but I really want to dive deep into this. And listen, I need to get this out of the way. I get it. Not everyone can quit. Not everyone wants to quit. The world needs employees. Some employees love what they do. They want the stability, the benefits, balance. I get it. Before the haters comment otherwise, okay? But I didn't. And maybe if a few of you, even a handful of you, are listening and want to do the same thing I did, then that's exactly who this video is for. Or if you're just, here around for an interesting story, then that's perfect too. So a bit of the story. I worked as an inside sales agent, more or less like an appointment setter, for 2 years. And then I was an ISM, an inside sales manager, for another 2. So for a total of 4 years, I worked at a real estate services startup, did well. I made okay money, but the main thing that I knew I was focused on was building my skill set. I built a network of also potential customers, since they told me, hey, it's like, you did this for me once. If you ever plan to do this on your own on a freelance basis, please give me a call. And that was like the first eye opener to really just be like, damn, like I was early 20s, and it was really cool to hear that and be like, damn, I'm providing like a good enough skill that these people would be willing to pay me a good amount per month, multiple thousands of dollars on my own if I ever wanted to. So I always had that back just mentally in the back of my mind to be like, I could fall on this. Like I could actually see myself doing this on my own. And listen, especially going back to my 15-year-old self, that's when I wanted to be an entrepreneur so badly. And random side note, I knew I would at some point in my life. I always had that self-belief that it's like, no matter what the hell happens, I will do this. So fast forward to January of 2022. I started working there end of 2017. Fast forward to the end of 2021, early 22, that company was shut down, and we had a merger offer that happened with my old job. So when the opportunity of either taking that salary from that merger came up or just go out on my own, take the risk and do this thing on my own, I knew in my gut what I wanted to do. I really did. I knew from the second I heard that first sentence of my old boss saying that, I was like, oh, I already know exactly where this is going. But then my monkey brain almost like tricked me of like, no, you need stability, you need salary, you need the benefits. It's like, trust me, you don't want to do this. And then after some conversations with not only myself, but people I was close with at the time and just like really reflecting, it's like, no, dude, if there's ever been a time, I was 23 years old and 26 now, it was like, now is it. You don't get this many chances to go out and freelance and do this exact same thing on your own many times over. So if there's ever been a time, it's now. So that's exactly what I did. And before I get into the first, how the first few months and even years went, I want to know, have you ever actually wanted to quit, or are you cool with your current job? And that's not a rhetorical question. Like, I'm serious. If you did quit, what would you want to work on? And if you're just working casually in a 9 to 5 and you like it, what do you do? I talk with my buddies about this from time to time, so I'm curious to hear your thoughts and kind of what that's like. But going back into the story, the first year was intense, man. Like when you quit, it's almost like that this switch just gets flipped on in your brain and you're like, okay, like I have to make this work. This is like literal life or death. I'm going to talk about some advice and what I recommend to those who want to quit later, a couple of minutes. But for right now, it's just like, you have your back up against the wall. You've got expenses coming in, especially if you're moved out, you're not living with your parents. You need to make this thing work. So my first year was just honestly stacking as much cash as I physically could. I had money tied up in a lot of my personal liquid funds tied up in a pre-construction property. I had 50 grand down there, and I had about, I think 5 months, if I'm being 4 to 5 months expenses saved, but I knew I had to make this work. So I was just solely focused on cash stacking that entire first year because I had enough skill set. I was in the sales kind of opportunity where I could sell, and I knew I wanted to get more freelance customers. So I started doing that, and I just stacked cash every single month. And I remember those first few payments hitting. I know I've talked about this before, but the first, it was like $500, $600 a month. I'm like, ooh, this is exciting. Like, this one pays for my car insurance, my phone bill, my internet, my utilities, basically. It's like, oh, this one's cool. And then I had a big one, $2,200, $2,400, something like that. That was like super crazy to me. I was like, holy crap, this handles my groceries and my rent for the month. Like, this is insane. And then the next couple of customers came through, and I was like, holy shit, like I'm profiting like 5, 6, 7-8 grand a month now, like saving profit, because I kept my expenses so low. And I was only freelancing at this time, right? But I was doing so much. My workload was like crazy. I was like 12 hours a day at this point, and it was insane. But I was making really good money and I was able to save a ton. So that was like year one, was just getting out of fight or flight mode. Year two, this is what, 2023 now, I was still kind of in that fight or flight mode, but I really wanted to scale things. And I had stacked enough cash that I definitely put more money into growth, a lot of cold email stuff, a lot more employees, so I could essentially buy my time back. But I also, around summertime, I'm pretty transparent. I don't remember the exact amount, but I think it was like 450K liquid. And I definitely let my foot off the gas, especially around like June to August. I remember my schedule was just like take my morning calls, and then the servers, I think actually for this game, literally the old Xbox servers got flipped on in July of 2023. And I was playing so much, like totally during work hours. My team was handling a lot of the internal work. I would hop on calls when I needed to, but that was my first like real taste of freedom. I'm like, holy crap, I'm making insanely good money. I'm like mainly stepped out of the day to day. Like when a client needs me, I'll answer, but most of my employees are handling stuff. And it's like, it was crazy. And then I would go to the gym around noon, I would make my lunch, and then I would just go bike from literally like 2 p.m., 2:30 p.m. for the rest of the entire day. I would go to a park and I would just roll. And it was insane. It's like, this is crazy. And then things inevitably started slowing down because I stopped just grinding things out. I didn't staff the right salespeople in certain scenarios. And I was back to, I didn't lose a ton of customers, but I had lost a handful of enterprise level customers. I'm like, oh shit, like we need to get back on track here. So it was this constant vicious cycle. And then year three, or I guess 2024, so like last year-ish, it's year three now, but 2024 was good too. I really bought a ton of my time back. I focused just on being super creative and what I could actually work on in the day-to-day, and now we're starting to run paid ads, which is what I should have done many years ago, but I was just naive. I wanted to be super cheap, and I wasn't focusing on the right things. So I know this is kind of going deep on the business stuff, and I wanted to keep this more on like the level of freedom, but now it's like, man, I would never go back. If you're going to ask me if would I ever go back, it's like, you couldn't pay me double what I make now and still try to get me to work. There's no way. I would never go back to working a 9 to 5. I never will. I have enough cash reserves and investments now that can last me. I know I've mentioned this a couple of videos back. I think it's like after tax, everything net, I can last 13 years at my current expenditure, monthly expenses. And I'm good. Like I'm literally set. If I never want to work, I just want to turn it off. So not for life. I'm definitely not at my number yet, but it's really just damn exciting to be like, man, I don't need to rely on a boss. I don't need to rely on someone telling me my schedule. I literally just do whatever I want, and it's freeing, it's exciting, and that's the number one thing I want to lead with is just freedom. This is your freedom, guys. Like if there's ever been a thing that you wanted to do, this is worth more than hundreds of thousands of dollars a month in revenue. Just that first like 10 grand, that first 10 grand a month is so freeing, and seeing that amount, because that's like, you're living a good life at that. Not crazy. Your baseline is covered, your expenses are covered, and it's just an exciting time, man. So I really do wish everyone could feel this. And if there's any advice, my advice for those who want to quit, number one, have a fund to fall back on. 3 months absolute minimum, but 6 to 12 ideally of monthly expenses saved liquid is the way, to go. If things go south, you're still totally fine. Your baseline is protected. I was super risk averse, so this was a big one for me, so I had saved minimum like 5 to 6 months. Number two, have a skill set to fall back on, okay? Or at the minimum, build on. It's like, if you're getting good at something and you're not working some like dead-end retail job or something, you could take that and apply it to your own thing. You could go and freelance on your own, right? This is a very good skill to have. Businesses will pay you a lot of money if you can close, if you can market for them, if you can code for them, all these types of things, right? So it'd be that, and just keep expenses low. Like if there's point number three, it's like keep expenses as low as you possibly can. Don't get fancy. Don't get crazy. A lot of guys start making really good money and they bag a couple really good clients and then they spend all that damn money. It's like, no, you should be doing the opposite. You should be living like you're broke, living like a bum, at least for the first 6 to 12 months. I was doing that for many years. I still sometimes do. And I only really let my foot off the gas a little bit and spending more money. And that was to the end of last year. I got a nice apartment. I don't even have a crazy car yet, but I go out to nice dinners now and that kind of thing. And I wasn't doing that for many years. So anyways, I know this is kind of a ramble. Look at this. This was so frustrating to see. But anyways, as always, if you've made it this far, I want to see you win. Comment below if you ever feel like quitting, and we'll go from there. Thank you.